Hi, everyone. My name is Lindsey Bostwick. I'm the Director of Artistic Planning here at the Art Center at NYU Abu Dhabi, and I am thrilled to welcome you back to our youth-focused career chats to talk to different people who work in the Art Center and across the arts academic programs to talk a little bit more about what they do, what their career path was, and how you all can be part of that journey. I'd like to thank the U.S. mission to the UAE for their support of our youth engagement programs and would really be thrilled to welcome both Anushka and Thaddeus to this conversation. And without further ado, handing that straight over.
Thank you so much, Lindsey. Hello, everybody. I will be moderating the chat for today. Looking forward to talking with you, Thaddeus. Why don't we start with just a brief introduction from yourself?
Thank you, Anushka. Thank you, Lindsey. Excited to be with you all today. So my name is Thaddeus Stegall, and I am currently I serve as instructor of music and producer in the music program at NYU Abu Dhabi. And really what that means is I help to put together the events that come out of the music program. So anything outside of the classroom, any collaborations with faculty artists or guest artists, any collaborations with the Arts Center, I'm the point person. So it's a cool job that I get to do. I'm from the United States, and I've been in the UAE 4 or 5 years now. And the UAE is where I call home.
Great, thank you so much. Let's jump straight into the questions. So my first question to you is, what kind of hobbies and interests did you have growing up?
Growing up, I was really engaged in music. And so I grew up playing drums in church in the US. And really a lot of my hobbies and things revolved around, around that. And so in middle school, I joined the band. And so I learned to play percussion and, really understanding the full kind of range of percussion other than, the drum set. So that was a really cool experience. So yeah, everything pretty much revolved around music. I got engaged in sports, playing American football in middle school. And what else? I played baseball growing up, which was a lot of fun. But mainly, yeah, a lot of my hobbies revolved around music, taking piano lessons and that kind of stuff. So yeah, that was my life growing up, was music and sports.
That's great. I love how you've learned almost every instrument. That's really
Yeah.
cool. So would you say that this is what brought you to a career in the arts, or was there something else that drew you to arts?
Yeah, really good question. I would say so. I realized kind of very early on in a bit of my story and background. So in university, I studied music education. At the time, I was trying to choose between kind of 3 different career paths. I was looking at music education. The other one was public relations, and the other one was theater. And so I kind of very quickly crossed off public relations, because I didn't want my life to be kind of patterned after someone else's mistakes, or, I didn't want my career to be dependent upon, responding to different things. And so then I was thinking about theater, and I really wanted to do theater because I really enjoyed it. And, I tried to do theater and music. They were like, oh, well, the curriculum is too big. You can't do both. So I ended up doing music education, and my adult self kind of kicked in. I was like, well, what can I do for the rest of my life and have a job, and have safety and security? Going back, I probably would have made a different decision. But that's what I chose, was music education. And my senior year in university, I realized that I did not want to teach music. So I was like, oh, snap, I'm about to have a whole university degree in something that I don't want to do with the rest of my life. And so I ended up, my mentor at the time was the vice president for student affairs. He was like, oh, Thaddeus, you really enjoyed your university experience. You've been president of this club and that club. You were a drum major in the marching band. And he was like, oh, you can stay in university for forever, right? And I was like, oh, how do you do that? He said, oh, well, you just go study higher education and then you can work in universities for the rest of your life. And so that's what I did. I ended up getting my master's degree in student affairs administration. And so looking at how universities work and administratively, and also thinking critically about how we create spaces for students to be successful in, so from everything to like how syllabi are created to like the actual moving, bolts of the classroom. So where should we, if there's a screen, where should we place it? How does that impact student learning and campus ecology is what they call it. And so then that brought me to the UAE, working at NYU Abu Dhabi. And then over the summer, I took a course in, this was summer of 2018. I took a course in project management. I was like, oh, this is kind of fun. This is kind of cool. I wonder what this would look like in a musical space. And then poof, here's this position that opened up in the music program. And so I'm able to kind of bring my interest and love of music into a space where I feel like I thrive, which is administrative work. And so it's really cool to be able to be in music, but not be the one performing. So no pressure for me in that arena, but it is a great opportunity to really kind of bring together, administrative work, which is something that I'm really passionate about with my level of music. And so I really enjoy the work that I get to do.
That's great. So I have two follow-up questions. One, just could you give a brief about what music education is
Yes.
and studying about higher education?
Okay. Yeah, so music education is really looking at how learning how to teach others how to learn music and playing instruments. And so we took courses in music theory, so understanding like what are the different pieces of music. When you hear something, what are you hearing and how do you put it together? How do you deconstruct it? So really learning about kind of the nuts and bolts of music. When somebody plays some notes, like what is this group of notes called? How did this person know what to play? So all of those fun things. And one of the highlights was getting to learn a lot of different instruments. And so in order to teach students how to play instruments, you have to know how to play them. And so I had how many courses? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 different courses learning how to play, everything from the trumpet to the cello to, the violin, the flute, the saxophone. So I'm not good by any stretch of the imagination, but I can play almost anything. I can get a sound out and teach someone else how to play almost anything. So that's really music education and, really thinking about how to teach students how to play instruments, how to teach them how to get better, but also teaching them to play in ensembles and to create beautiful music in a public school setting. And then higher education was really fun because we really looked at how universities work. And so, getting to the nuts and bolts of thinking about, what does the classroom look like? What roles do the vice chancellor serve? And how does that then impact, the work that everyone else is doing? And so really thinking about, the budget, thinking about, collaborating with the government. And so it was really a wide range of different things, thinking about like, what does success look like, at different levels of the institution, as a entry-level person, what does success look like for me? And then how does that help all the way up to the vice chancellor be successful, and how we can structure, both the curriculum, the budgets, the calendars and all those different things to help things run efficiently and smoothly. And also, thinking bigger picture, how, what is the goal of higher education, right? Why do students come to university? And how can we help as a university kind of deliver on that promise of helping students be successful members of society? And so also thinking kind of very meta about, what is our role in the development of, a just society, and what does that look like as an institution? So really high level, but also really low levels. Like, okay, well, how do we then take that mission and distill it down to like day-to-day operations, and what does that look like? So really, really kind of a wide range of things in the life cycle of a university and an institution.
Yeah, what you say really, really just flows into what I was about to ask as my second follow-up. I'm a theater student. I'm in my final semester, so that means I'm
Mhm.
graduating in 2 months. And I
Yeah.
have a lot of like, yeah, I guess.
Congratulations.
I have a lot of, I guess, doubt about how do I venture into the real world, and also how do
Mhm.
I, like establish myself in the arts? How do I establish a career for myself? Um, could you explain or maybe just give us a brief into how you felt when you were graduating, and what it took for you to really get to the next step?
Definitely. For me, one of the things that I realized that was really helpful is that university, one of the powerful things about university and why it's so important is that, while you come to learn a specific thing, right? Like you come to study theater, but oftentimes the byproduct of university is so much more important. And oftentimes you'll see employers or, people who are looking to hire people, they will say, oh, this person should have a university degree or 4 years bachelor's. But they don't always specify what that is, right? And so one of the beautiful things about university and the beautiful thing about NYU Abu Dhabi is that not only are you learning a specific subject area, but you're learning how to think. And that's the really beautiful thing in learning how to think critically and how to use the skills that you have in order to get to a certain end, right? And so, one of the things that has been really powerful for me is like, oh, I studied music education, and what am I doing? I'm not teaching, right? And so, one of the I would say one of the biggest pieces of advice I would give you is don't feel like you're beholden to what you studied. Because to be honest, it'd be really interesting to do a poll of the faculty at NYUAD and staff as well, just to see, what they studied in university and also, what they're doing now. And it's not a decision that, that locks you in, right? And so I would say, to answer your question more directly, because I know I've been talking in circles, but I would say take what you've learned and apply it to every situation that you face, right? And thinking about, you know, how intentional your professors may have been in the assignments that they picked and the way that they arranged them and ordered them, and how you can then, take that and use those skills, transferable learning, and being organized, for example, right? There's an expectation, and the Career Center has the research on this, but there's an expectation that if you have a university degree, you're expected to be able to do X, Y, and Z. And, one of those things is being able to work with people who are different from you. And you'd be surprised how important that is. And I think especially coming from a discipline like theater, you are like grossly engaged in that, right? That is your daily work. And so, really thinking about, okay, what can I take from what I've learned in theater to help me be successful in life, right? Even thinking about taking an acting course, and many people wouldn't make the connection, but if you're going to a networking event and you're a person like me who's really shy when I really like meet people at first, well, I can just take some of the skills that I've learned in the acting courses, and it doesn't have to be inauthentic, but it's something that those skills that you can take to say, okay, well, in this moment, I feel uncomfortable. So I'm going to take what I've learned in acting and really use that to be able to help me be present in the moment and engage with people. So I would say, like, figure out what you like to do. And your values are incredibly important. I cannot stress that enough. Like, your values are those things that will guide you through the moments where you have to make difficult decisions. And if you make decisions based on your values, hopefully, and values will change and shift over time, but hopefully you won't look back with regret in those situations. When I've made decisions based off my values, I've never regretted the decisions that I've made. And so I would say just take everything that you've learned. And to be honest, you will use more of what you've learned outside of the classroom than what you did in the classroom. Don't tell your professors I said that, but that's been the truth of my experience, I would say.
Mhm. That is so beautiful and so inspiring and so well put. Can I just say that? I really can't imagine you as a shy person because you're so articulate about your thoughts, and so good at like giving them out to the world. So
Thank you.
thank
I
you so much
appreciate
for that. Why don't we switch to audience questions now? Um, and we have a few in the chat, so I'm just going to go right into it.
that. Okay.
One audience member says, I love how you keep refining your career and changing your ideas. How did you have the confidence to change gears once you wanted to go in a different direction?
That is a really good question. And it is really difficult, I will say. I'll be honest. I think, so for me, I feel that, and my faith is really important to me. And so I kind of moved from the departure point of an understanding that I was not placed on this earth just to work, right? And so for me, it is really important to be doing work that I'm engaged in, but also work that is in service to other people, work that is really making a difference in the lives of others. And so for me, if I'm no longer in a space where those things are true, then it is time for me to move to a different space. And for me, I always feel that with that being my life's calling, excuse me, with that being the calling of my life, there will always be opportunities that will present themselves because I'm walking in what I feel called to do. And so, how did I have the confidence to change gears? I think it was really transferable learning, and thinking about the skills that I had. For example, case in point, as a music education student, one of the things that I was responsible for, we had to learn how to plan concerts, for example, because if you are a music teacher or a band director, you have to plan concerts for your students. And so when this opportunity that I'm in currently became available, I was able to take not what I learned specifically in the classroom where okay, I have to, call my parents and let them know that there's a concert happening. No, it was okay, well, in the experience of trying to put together a concert, here's what I learned. And now here's how I'm able to take, that experience from working in higher education on kind of the student affairs side to now kind of planning events. I'm able to take those skills that I learned and use them in a different setting. Because honestly, a lot of you all are really, I mean, as students, especially in university, you are way more equipped than you realize. And oftentimes you don't realize it until you're put in a position to have to use those skills. It's oh, I did learn that, and oftentimes in the university environment, it's structured in the way that you learn by osmosis. And so a lot of the things that are placed in the environment, a lot of it is okay, you're not supposed to know this is going on around you, and you just soak it up. And then, in the moment that you need it, you're able to recall it because it was so ingrained in the environment that you were in. So to be honest, I would say less confidence. And it was really I have to be doing work that I feel fulfilled in and I feel called to do. And so I can't take the credit, and say it was confidence. To me, I would say it was God. And it was really something that was just okay, I need to be moving in a different direction. And I have to, be doing work that is in service to others and really bringing value to the lives of others. And that's why I'm in higher ed in the first place.
Mhm. That is so beautiful, and that is so grounding, um, to be motivated by something so strongly, and to have faith in that. That's really beautiful. Thank you. And as a last question, let's see. What can we as students do now to pursue towards a career in the arts? So maybe just listing out next steps.
Sure. Find what you like to do and do it.
Mhm.
That's the advice that I would give you. Because one of the things that I really did not like doing as a student in the arts, which is why I'm now on the administrative side, right? I did not like to practice. And it was a terrible habit to develop as a student. And so I would say, if there's something that you really enjoy doing, take it and go take a deep dive into it. Because the beautiful thing is that in those moments where there are, decisions to make, whether they're life or creative, you want to be able to move from a space of, what they call in positive psychology, a flow, right? So you want to be able to move in a way that you're able to, what's the words that I'm looking for? You're able to move in a way that feels innate, right? And so thinking about as a musician, for example, if I am performing at a jazz concert, oftentimes in order for the work to really speak in a way that I feel it, I have to be proficient enough to allow the emotional experience to guide what is coming out of me. And if you are not in a place to be, efficient in whatever you're doing, then you inhibit the possibility for that transmission of, a musical experience or in whatever art that you're doing, right? And so I would say find what it is that you love to do and like go deeply into it and become enamored with it and allow it to really shape how you see yourself, and really how you're able to use that as an experience and as a tool to really like walk through life. And so practically what that looks like, because I know that's real like hippy drippy, right? Practically what that looks like, if there are opportunities for you to develop the specific thing that you're doing. And so whether that means like workshops or seminars or like YouTube University, excellent tool. As a creative, like if I can't figure out how to do something on my own, YouTube is the first place that I look. And oftentimes someone else has done it already and they're sharing it on YouTube for free to you. So yeah, think about like what are the resources that are available to you at no cost or at low cost around you that you can use to develop your gift and your craft. And then also think about like how is that also in turn developing you? And I would say really like keep a journal because you grow so much through these types of processes. And you don't always recognize the ways in which you are, changing and being shaped through the experience. And as a poet, this is something that oftentimes I'm really trying to like, okay, what is my creative process? And how can I really sit down and go from, oh, I had this idea to like, oh, there's this finished work. And so really like figuring out what your creative process is really important. And the younger you figure that out, the more in demand of your creative process that you can be, and the more often you can create work that really impacts people.
Yeah, I really resonate with that. I think I also struggle a lot with, trying to figure out what my creative process is. So thank you so much for that. And thank you in general for such a lovely talk. I really feel like, when people say just follow your passion, I feel like we see it through your own trajectory, how that's really come through for you. So yeah, thank you
Definitely.
so much. And I'm gonna hand it over to Lindsay.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah.
Thank you so much to both of you. Thaddeus, I should have said from the beginning that I've worked with Thaddeus in lots of different ways throughout my time here at the Art Center. And in everything that Thaddeus does, he brings his full spirit, his full skill set, his passion for life, and his commitment to students and to the growth of each person, which has always been inspiring. So I loved having this conversation, and thank you so much to Anushka right on the start of graduation and being an artist, and also someone really interested in students and research and the growth of everyone. So what an exciting conversation. I do want to thank Mubadala, who is our off the stage partner, as well as all of our media partners and everyone here listening to this exciting series. So looking forward to the next one, and thanks so much, everyone.